Joshua chapter 13. The land yet to be conquered. When Joshua was an old man, the Lord said to him, "You are growing old, and much land remains to be conquered. This is the territory that remains, all the regions of the Philistines and the Geshurites, and the larger territory of the Canaanites, extending from the stream of Shihor on the border of Egypt, northward to the boundary of Ekron. It includes the territory of the 5 Philistine rulers of Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. The land of the Avites in the south also remains to be conquered. In the north, the following area has not yet been conquered: all the land of the Canaanites, including Mira, which belongs to the Sidonians, stretching northward to Aphek on the border of the Amorites, the land of the Gibeonites, and all of the Lebanon mountain area to the east, from Baalgad below Mount Hermon to Lebo Hamath, and all the hill country from Lebanon to Misrephoth-Maim, including all the land of the Sidonians. I myself will drive these people out of the land ahead of the Israelites, so be sure to give this land to Israel as a special possession, just as I have commanded you. Include all of this territory as Israel's possession when you divide this land among the 9 tribes and the half-tribe of Manasseh. The land divided east of the Jordan. Half the tribe of Manasseh and the tribes of Reuben and Gad had already received their grants of land on the east side of the Jordan, for Moses, the servant of the Lord, had previously assigned this land to them. Their territory extended from Aroer on the edge of the Arnon Gorge, including the town in the middle of the gorge, to the plain beyond Medeba as far as Dibon. It also included all the towns of King Sihon of the Amorites, who had reigned in Heshbon, and extended as far as the borders of Ammon. It included Gilead, the territory of the kingdoms of Gesher and Makkah, all of Mount Hermon, all of Bashan as far as Selecah, and all the territory of King Og of Bashan, who had reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. King Og was the last of the Rephites, for Moses had attacked them and driven them out. But the Israelites failed to drive out the people of Gesher and Makkah, so they continue to live among the Israelites to this day. An allotment for the tribe of Levi. Moses did not assign any allotment of the tribe of land for the tribe of Levi. Instead, as the Lord had promised them, their allotment came from the offerings burned on the altar to the Lord, the God of Israel. The land given to the tribe of Reuben. Moses had assigned the following area to the clans of the tribe of Reuben. Their territory extended from Aroer on the edge of the Arnon Gorge, including the town in the middle of the gorge, to the plain beyond Medeba. It included Heshbon and the other towns on the plain: Dibon, Bamoth Baal-Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mephath, Kiriathaim, Sibmah, Zereth-Shahar on the hill above the valley, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth Jeshimoth. The land of Reuben also included all the towns of the plain and the entire kingdom of Sihon. Sihon was the Amorite king who had reigned in Heshbon and was killed by Moses along with the leaders of Midian: Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, princes living in the region who were allied with Sihon. The Israelites had also killed Balaam, son of Beor, who used magic to tell the future. The Jordan River marked the western boundary for the tribe of Reuben. The towns and their surrounding villages in this area were given as a homeland to the clans of the tribe of Reuben. The land given to the tribe of Gad. Moses had assigned the following area to the clans of the tribe of Gad. Their territory included Jazer, all the towns of Gilead, and half of the land of Ammon, as far as the town of Aroer, just west of Rabbah. It extended from Heshbon to Ramoth Mizpah and Betonim, and from Mahanaim to the territory of Lo-Debar. In the valley were Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Succoth, Zaphon, and the rest of the kingdom of King Sihon of Heshbon. The western boundary ran along the Jordan River, extended as far north as the tip of the Sea of Galilee, and then turned eastward. The towns and their surrounding villages in this area were given as a homeland to the clans of the tribe of Gad. The land given to the half-tribe of Manasseh. Moses had assigned the following area to the clans of the half-tribe of Manasseh. Their territory extended from Mahanaim, including all of Bashan, all the former kingdom of King Og, and the 60 towns of Jar and Bashan. It also included half of Gilead and King Og's royal cities of Ashtaroth and Edrei. All this was given to the clans of the descendants of Machir, who was Manasseh's son. These are the allotments Moses had made while he was on the plains of Moab across the Jordan River, east of Jericho. But Moses gave no allotment of land to the tribe of Levi, for the Lord, the God of Israel, had promised that he himself would be their allotment. The land divided west of the Jordan, chapter 14. The remaining tribes of Israel received land in Canaan as allotted by Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the tribal leaders. These 9.5 tribes received their grants of land by means of sacred lots, and according with the Lord's command through Moses. Moses had already given a grant of land to the 2.5 tribes on the east side of the Jordan River, but he had given the Levites no such allotment. The descendants of Joseph had become 2 separate tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim, and the Levites were given no land at all, only towns to live in with surrounding pasture lands for their livestock and all their possessions. So the land was distributed in strict accordance with the Lord's commands to Moses. Caleb requests his land. A delegation from the tribe of Judah, led by Caleb, son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, came to Joshua at Gilgal. Caleb said to Joshua, "Remember what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, about you and me when we were at Kadesh Barnea? I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land of Canaan. I returned and gave an honest report, but my brothers who went with me frightened the people from entering the promised land. For my part, I wholeheartedly followed the Lord my God. So that day Moses solemnly promised me, the land of Canaan on which you were just walking will be your grant of land and that of your descendants forever, because you wholeheartedly followed the Lord my God. Now, as you can see, the Lord has kept me alive and well, as he promised for all these 45 years since Moses made this promise. Even while Israel wandered in the wilderness, today I am 85 years old. I am as strong now as I was when Moses sent me on that journey, and I can still travel and fight as well as I could then. So give me the hill country that the Lord promised me. You will remember that as scouts we found the descendants of Anak living there in great walled towns. But if the Lord is with me, I will drive them out of the land, just as the Lord had said." So Joshua blessed Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and gave Hebron to him as his portion of land. Hebron still belongs to the descendants of Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, because he wholeheartedly followed the Lord, the God of Israel. Previously, Hebron had been called Kiriath Arba. It had been named after Arba, a great hero of the descendants of Anak. And the land had rest from war. The land given to the tribe of Judah, chapter 15. The allotment for the clans of the tribe of Judah reached southward to the border of Edom as far south as the wilderness of Zin. The southern boundary began at the south bay of the Dead Sea, ran south of Scorpion Pass into the wilderness of Zin, and then went south of Kadesh Barnea to Hezron. Then it went up to Adar, where it turned toward Karka. From there it passed to Asmon, until it finally reached the brook of Egypt, which it followed to the Mediterranean Sea. This was their southern boundary. The eastern boundary extended along the Dead Sea to the mouth of the Jordan River. The northern boundary began at the bay, where the Jordan River empties into the Dead Sea, went up from there to Beth Hogla, then proceeded north of Beth Araba to the stone of Bohan. Bohan was Reuben's son. From that point it went through the valley of Acre to Debir, turning north toward Gilgal, which is across from the slopes of Adamim, on the south side of the valley. From there the boundary extended to the springs at En Shemesh and on to En Rogel. The boundary then passed through the valley of Ben Hinnom, along the southern slopes of the Jebusites, where the city of Jerusalem is located. Then it went west to the top of the mountain above the valley of Hinnom, and on up to the northern end of the valley of Rephaim. From there, the boundary extended from the top of the mountain to the spring at the waters of Nephtoah, and from there to the towns on Mount Ephron. Then it turned toward Bala, that is Kiriath Jearim. The boundary circled west of Bala to Mount Seir, passed along to the town of Gisalon, onto the northern slope of Mount Jearim, and went back to Beth Shemesh and on to Timnah. The boundary then proceeded to the slope of the hill north of Ekron, where it turned toward Shikharon and Mount Bala. It passed Jabneel and ended up at the Mediterranean Sea. The western boundary was the shoreline of the Mediterranean Sea. These are the boundaries for the clans of the tribe of Judah, the land given to Caleb. The Lord commanded Joshua to assign some of Judah's territory to Caleb, son of Jephunneh. So Caleb was given the town of Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, which had been named after Anak's ancestor. Caleb drove out the three groups of Anakites, the descendants of Shishai, Ahiman, and Talmai, the sons of Anak. From there he went to fight against the people living in the town of Debir, formerly called Kiriath Sefer. Caleb said, I will give my daughter Asha in marriage to the one who attacks and captures Kiriath Sefer. Othniel, the son of Caleb's brother Kenaz, was the one who conquered it, so Achsah became Othniel's wife. When Achsah married Othniel, she urged him to ask her father for a field. As she got down off her donkey, Caleb asked her, What's the matter? She said, Give me another gift. You have already given me land in the Negev. Now please give me springs of water too. So Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. The towns allotted to Judah. This was the homeland allocated to the clans of the tribe of Judah. The towns of Judah situated along the borders of Edom and the extreme south were Kabzeel, Eder, Jagur, Kena, Dimnah, Adadah, Kedesh, Hazor, Ithnan, Ziph, Telem, Bealoth, Hazar Hadattah, Kiriath Hezron, that is Hazor, Amam, Shema, Moladah, Hazar-Gada, Heshmon, Beth Pilar, Hazar Shual, Beersheba, Biziathah, Bela, Aim, Ezem, Eltalad, Kesel, Hormah, Ziglag, Madmenah, Sansana, Leboeth, Shilhim, Ain, and Rimmon, 29 towns with their surrounding villages. The following towns situated in the western foothills were also given to Judah: Eshtal, Zorah, Ashna, Zanoah, Engannon, Tepuah, Enam, Jarmuth, Adullam, Soka, Azekah, Sheraim, Adathaim, Gedera, and Gedorthaim. 14 towns with their surrounding villages. Also included were Zenon, Hadash, Migdal-Gad, Dilion, Mizpah, Joktheel, Lachish, Bozhath, Eglon, Kabon, Lachum, Kitlish, Gederath, Beth Dagon, Nama, and Makkedah, 16 towns with their surrounding villages. Besides these, there were Libnah, Ether, Ashan, Iphthah, Ashna, Nezib, Keilah, Akzib, and Mareshah, 9 towns with their surrounding villages. The territory of the tribe of Judah, also called Ekron, and its surrounding settlements and villages. From Ekron, the boundary extended west and included the towns near Ashdod with their surrounding villages. It also included Ashdod with its surrounding settlements and villages, and Gaza with its settlements and villages, as far as the brook of Egypt, and along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. Judah also received the following towns in the hill country: Shamer, Jatir, Soka, Dana, Kiriath-Sana, that is Debir, Anab, Eshtemoh, Anam, Goshen, Holon, and Gilo, 11 towns with their surrounding villages. Also included were the towns of Arab, Duma, Eshen, Janim, Beth Tapia, Aphekah, Humata, Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, and Zior, 9 towns with their surrounding villages. Besides these, there were Maon, Carmel, Ziph, Juttah, Jezreel, Joktheam, Zenioth, Cain, Gibeah, and Timnah, 10 towns with their surrounding villages. In addition, there were Halhul, Bethzor, Gedor, Merath, Bethanath, and Eltikon, 6 towns with their surrounding villages. There were also Kiriath Baal, that is Kiriath Jearim, and Rabbah, 2 towns with their surrounding villages. In the wilderness there were the towns of Bether Araba, Midden, Sekaka, Nibshan, and the city of Salt, and in Gedi, 6 towns with their surrounding villages. But the tribe of Judah could not drive out the Jebusites, who lived in the city of Jerusalem, so the Jebusites live there among the people of Judah to this day. The land given to Ephraim and West Manasseh. The allotment of the descendants of Joseph extended from the Jordan River near Jericho, east of the springs of Jericho, through the wilderness and into the hill country of Bethel. From Bethel, that is Luz, it ran over to Atoroth in the territory of the Arkites. Then it descended westward to the territory of the Japhilites as far as Lower Bethoron, then to Gezer and over to the Mediterranean Sea. This was the homeland allocated to the families of Joseph's sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. The land given to Ephraim. The following territory was given to the clans of the tribe of Ephraim. The boundary of their homeland began at Ataroth Ador in the east. From there it ran to Upper Bethoron, then on to the Mediterranean Sea. From Mikmethath and on the north, the boundary curved eastward past Ten Shiloh to the east of Genoa. From Genoa it turned southward to Atoroth and Nera, touched Jericho, and ended at the Jordan River. From Tappuah, the boundary extended westward, following the Kana ravine to the Mediterranean Sea. This is the homeland allocated to the clans of the tribe of Ephraim. In addition, some towns with their surrounding villages in the territory allocated to the half-tribe of Manasseh were set aside for the tribe of Ephraim. They did not drive the Canaanites out of Gezer, however, so the people of Gezer live as slaves among the people of Ephraim to this day. The land given to West Manasseh. Chapter 17. The next allotment of land was given to the half-tribe of Manasseh, the descendants of Joseph's older son, Machir. The firstborn son of Manasseh was the first of Gilead. Because his descendants were experienced soldiers, the regions of Gilead and Bashan on the east side of the Jordan had already been given to them. So the allotment on the west side of the Jordan was for the remaining families within the clans of the tribes of Manasseh: Abiezer, Helek, Azriel, Shechem, Hepher, and Shemitah. These clans represent the male descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph. However, Zelophehad, a descendant of Hepher, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, had 2 sons. He had only daughters, whose names were Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. These women came to Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the Israelite leaders, and said, "The Lord commanded Moses to give us a grant of land along with the men of our tribe." So Joshua gave them a grant of land along with their uncles, as the Lord had commanded. As a result, Manasseh's total allocation came to 10 parcels of land, in addition to the land of Gilead and Bashan across the Jordan River, because the female descendants of Manasseh received a grant of land along with the male descendants. The land of Gilead was given to the rest of the male descendants of Manasseh. The boundary of the tribe of Manasseh extended from the border of Asher to Mikmethath, near Shechem. Then the boundary went south from Mikmethath to the settlement near the spring of Tappuah. The land surrounding Tappuah belonged to Manasseh, but the town of Tappuah itself, on the border of Manasseh's territory, belonged to the tribe of Ephraim. From the spring of Tappuah, the boundary of Manasseh followed the Kana ravine to the Mediterranean Sea. Several towns south of the ravine were inside Manasseh's territory, but they actually belonged to the tribe of Ephraim. In general, however, the land south of the ravine belonged to Ephraim, and the land north of the ravine belonged to Manasseh. Manasseh's boundary ran along the southern side of the ravine and ended up at the Mediterranean Sea. North of Manasseh was the territory of Asher, and to the east was the territory of Issachar. The following towns within the territory of Issachar and Asher however, were given to Manasseh: Bethshan, Ibleam, Dor, that is Naphoth Dor, Endor, Tanakh, and Megiddo, each with their surrounding settlements. But the descendants of Manasseh were unable to occupy these towns because the Canaanites were determined to stay in that region. Later, however, when the Israelites became strong enough, they forced the Canaanites to work as slaves, but they did not drive them out of the land. The descendants of Joseph came to Joshua and asked, "Why have you given us only one portion of land as our homeland when the Lord has blessed us with so many people?" Joshua replied, "If there are so many of you, and if the hill country of Ephraim is not large enough for you, clear out the land for yourselves, in the forest where the Perizzites and Rephaites live." The descendants of Joseph responded, "It's true that the hill country is not large enough for us, but all the Canaanites in the lowlands have iron chariots, both those in Bethshan and its surrounding settlements, and those in the valley of Jezreel. They are too strong for us." Then Joshua said to the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, the descendants of Joseph, "Since you are so large and strong, you will be given more than one portion. The forest of the hill country will be yours as well. Clear as much of the land as you wish, and take possession of its farthest corners, and you will drive out the Canaanites from the valleys, too, even though they are strong and have iron chariots." Equality. Joshua chapter 17, verses 3 through 4 meaning. Zelophehad had 5 daughters. Zelophehad's 5 daughters had brought their case before Moses some time before, in Numbers chapter 27, verses 1 through 11. Their father had died in the wilderness without leaving a son to carry on his name. The daughters were concerned about their family not receiving its inheritance in the promised land. At that time, Moses brought their concern before God. It was God himself who ruled on this case. He granted these daughters an equal inheritance alongside the sons of other families. In a time when only men owned land, this was an extraordinary concession, showing God's concern not only for these women, but for the equality of men and women. Enemies. Joshua chapter 17, verse 12 meaning. How do we defeat our enemies? One of the first steps is to realize that they may be more determined than we are. Most of the Israelite tribes did not match their determination to follow God with the Canaanites, determination to dig in and remain where they were. God's people were outmatched in the area of resolve. Today, we might have political or military enemies, but we always have spiritual enemies, what the Bible calls evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, and mighty powers in this dark world. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. Are you as determined to fight off sin as Satan is determined to fill you with sin? Here are some ways to increase your determination. Through knowledge, understanding from Scripture what Satan's tactics are and how to counter them. Through prayer, calling on God to fill you more powerfully with His Spirit. And through confidence, recognizing that God is mightier than Satan and will indeed defeat him. Claiming God's promises of victory and understanding the real blessings and benefits of victory.